Hi everyone, welcome to Hillside Harvest Homestead, or welcome back if you're one of our faithful followers. Today, obviously, we're in the barn. We're training a new cow. Situation-wise, this is what's happened. We have our one cow, Annabelle, and she has her heifer. We were planning on keeping her, the heifer, her name is Apple, as our milk cow. She would be ready this fall to breed, and then, or this winter, and then next fall have a calf. But thinking about it, my husband and I were talking about it. We have such a high demand for milk right now with our customers, and we also are dealing with a little bit of a decrease in milk from our cow. So I'm actually having to tell some of my customers you can't have that much, and kind of limiting their supply. We have not had milk to drink in forever. Whatever chance I get, if there's just a little bit left over, I'll take that. So we don't get milk to be able to make butter, cheeses, or to be able to drink or anything like that. So we don't have enough milk. So what we were thinking, and my husband just kind of brought me back to reality. We don't have to keep Apple. In fact, it would probably be better if we were to buy another cow that's either already lactating or will be lactating soon, rather than have to wait all the way until next year for Apple to start lactating and to be able to get more milk. Hello, baby. So it's a farm. It's a homestead. That's what you do, you know, you kind of come in and out of animals. So it's just the way it goes. So we decided to just go ahead and get another cow. She is 4 months away from having a calf. So she's actually supposedly due 4 days before our cow is due to calf. So we're going to have babies like right around the same time and get into a lot of milk right around the same time. This cow is wild, but not wild. She was trained. She was used in 4-H. So I know she was handled. However, when I went to go see her, she was skittish. The lady couldn't even catch her. They had pre-caught her and put her in just a little round pen, which to me, I already know means that she's not easy to catch. So she wasn't able to put a halter on her. She had to move one of the panels of the round pen and squeeze her into like a little chute in order to catch her and be able to put a halter on her. So now she said, she's acting this way because she knows something's up, which I also know is normal. An animal will react that way if they know something's up, something's different in their schedule. A stranger comes around. So I really wasn't surprised by that behavior. But once she had the halter on her, she led the cow out and let her out with no problem. The cow let me pet her on the neck and on the side and stuff while she was eating her grain, but otherwise would kind of move away from me a little bit. So went ahead and got her. And because you just kind of figure, that maybe she's not the friendliest cow. And the lady did say she's not a love. So she's not one that like wants to sit there and be pampered and loved on, which is fine. So we got her. They brought her to her house. She walked her down to the paddock on her halter. We let her go into the little paddock area, and I haven't been able to catch her since. Every so often, when you feed her some grain, if her head is down in the bucket, she'll let you pet her on the neck or on the side. So I have 4 months to be able to get her used to us and be able to get her used to being in the stanchion and in the barn for milking. And I know from experience with Annabelle that it can take a while for them to get used to you. So I'm starting on training right away. And I'm okay with not being lovey with her. You know, all I want is for her to be pleasant when we milk her. I want her to be able to come in and out of the barn easily, you know, to be milked easily. I want to be able to get her into the stall when it's time to calf. So those are the things that I really want. You know, if she's not going to come around and wants to be lovey, you know, if we can't easily get a halter on her, like whatever, as long as I can get her into the stanchion. You know, if something happens where we need a vet, you know, all we need to really do is if we can get her into the stanchion, then so be it. You know, we can put a halter on her from there if we need to. So biggest thing is I want her in the stanchion. So that's what we're working on. And I'm trying to catch the training as I do it. I have missed the first part of the training on video because I forget to bring the camera with me. I just come down to the barn and do my thing. So typically what happens is I forget to videotape the entire training, and then I videotape and just do a walkthrough as to what I did do to train them. So this time I would like you to be able to see me train her. You just won't get the first part. So what I did for the first part was make sure that all the animals were gone. So my cows, other than the one I'm working with, are in the lower pasture, separated down there, and goats are put up in a paddock area so I can leave the barn opened all day, all night. And it's a tight barn, you know, it's not real big and roomy in here, so it can be a little scary. And coming from out where it's light into a dark barn can be scary. So I wanted to make sure that the only place that she's getting food, whether it's hay or grain, is right here in the barn where she's going to come into the stanchion. And in order to do that, I wanted to be able to leave the barn open. I don't want to have the barn open with all the rest of the animals because they know where the grain is and they will completely wreak havoc in here. So I don't want that. She doesn't know where the grain is, and she's not that curious to stay in the barn that long to explore. So, kitty, kitty. So, I kept the gate open. I'm at the point now where she comes into the barn with grain, so I can actually close the gate now and I can have the goats around. I still have the cows in the lower pasture just because they're on the grass down there. We're letting the upper pasture grow, the grass grow up here. So I'm trying to limit the amount of traffic I have on the upper pasture anyways. But the goats are allowed to be around. However, when I'm training the cow, I put the goats back up in the paddock area so they're out of the way, because they know as soon as I open this gate, they're running in here. They're running up onto the goat stanchion. They want food. They're running around in here. I don't want to deal with them. So they're in the paddock area while we work on some training. First step that I did, obviously, like I just said, is keeping the gate open. So I always had the gate open. Let's see if she's coming over. Okay. And all I did for the first day, and I just did this for every feeding. So the first day I actually came out and gave her a little bit of hay a couple times a day. And what I would do is simply put hay right here at the opening of the door. So that all she had to do was just simply put her head in the door. And then the next feeding, I'd move it a little closer to the stanchion. Next feeding, I put on the stanchion. And then I put some hay a little farther up the stanchion and also put a little bucket of grain so that when she is putting at least her front feet up on the stanchion, she's getting some grain as well. So that's how I started it off. And I kept the side gate open so that she doesn't have to deal with that and she can come right in. At that point, what I did was I went ahead and put a little bit of grain in the feed bucket that's in the head stall. And my husband was actually out here the first time. She just came up and walked in and put her head up in the head stall by herself. So, and he just stood there nice and quiet, so it didn't bother her. And then she was out. So I have done that twice now with her, where I don't worry about feeding her hay in here anymore. We're past that point because she now comes in and she'll put her head in the head stall. So I just go straight to it and put grain in the head stall, and I'll feed her grain in there. I'm going ahead and feeding her hay outside because I'm not worried about that part because she'll put her head in the head stall. So that's where we are. I did move the head bar here when she was in here last. I moved this head bar and put it up against her. So I let it sit up against her neck. And then we have this large screw that makes noise. And so I got her used to that sound and just moved it around. And then I went ahead and actually closed it and put her in here so that she couldn't get out. I found out that her head is lower than, oh, here she comes. Okay, we're going to do this then. Here she comes. She got out of it anyways, because it is wide at the base, but Annabelle sits higher. Her neck is higher, and so she can't get her head down here to the base and squeeze out. She's a little shorter, and so she could put her head lower and squeeze out. So I went ahead and I moved it in a little bit to the first notch, and that worked. All right, it's in here. Here you go. It's in there. Good girl. Good girl. So I'll just let her be in here, relax, and I'm going to pet her while she's in here. Good girl. Pet her on her shoulder. Good girl. So she's gotten used to this part, which is great. So I'm going to go ahead and close the neck bar here. Squeeze you in. Good girl. What a good girl. So she's wild, but she's not wild. You know, she's used to certain things. She'll let you pet her if she has to. But if you're out in the field, you can't catch her. And again, you can't put a halter on her unless she's in a situation like this. So what I want to do is just let her hang out here and get used to being in the stanchion. My goal is for her to just be content in the stanchion while she's standing here, because she's going to have to while she's being milked. I don't try to keep them fed the entire time that they're milking. So, all right, here we go. She can be a kicker. I don't know if she'll kick towards me or not, but I don't want to be in her way. Good girl. Good girl. So I'm going to try to keep myself out of the way here. Good girl. Good girl. Good girl. No, it's okay. Good girl. I don't want to be in the way if she does kick. Good girl. Good girl. Because those little legs are powerful. Good girl. Good girl. Good girl. I really don't want to be in the way. Good girl. I'll give you some more. Because you're a good girl. Yeah. Good girl. And I did start leaving my milking wagon here so that she sees, so when she comes in, she sees a little distraction here, because this will be here when we milk. Good girl. Good girl. I really don't want to get kicked, but I really anticipate her kicking if I touch her stomach or her udders. Really don't want to get kicked. Good girl. Good girl. So we're taking it as slow as possible, as calmly as possible. I do not want this to be a negative thing for her. I want it to be a positive thing and as relaxing as we can be. I know it might get a little nerve-wracking at times, especially when she pulls back and realizes she's caught. But as calm as possible. Because if it ends up being something where it's a negative experience, she's not going to come around again for a long time. Good girl. All right, well, this is it for this training. Just going simply. Not making big changes. I don't want to scare her. I don't want to overwhelm her. So we're just, I got 4 months. So I'm not worried about having to rush her into training or anything like that. And I want every step of it to be as comfortable for her as possible so that we don't end up backtracking and having to start over. Good girl. All right. So that's all we're going to do for today. Hey, girl. Good girl. Good girl. Yeah, good girl. Good girl. Oh, there we go. Good girl. Good girl. Yeah, I know you're not a big fan of it, but good girl. All right. Just gave her a little touch on the teats. Ho ho. Good girl. You just wait a minute. You just wait a minute. I'll get you undone here. Good girl. I'm so proud of you. Good girl. All right. There we go. There we go. Good girl. Yeah. And there she goes. Good job. Good job. Yeah, actually, I'll leave this open for a minute. All right, so that's us in training. We'll just keep coming back, and every day I'll just show you a little bit of what we're doing. So really pleased. I did, as you saw, touch her belly and just kind of rubbed my hand over her teats a little bit. I did not mess with her teats, but just ran over it. So little by little, that's all I'm going to be doing is just being real general so that it doesn't freak her out and it's not irritating to her, until she gets used to me touching her under there. I'll bring some brushes out and brush her, just little by little adding some more things. Eventually, I'll start tugging on each one of her teats, just a little bit so she gets used to that. Yes, you're such a good girl. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. Maybe we can make you into a nice cow. What do you think? Yeah, what do you think? I'm excited. I'm really excited. Because this is like the most interaction that we've been able to have with her. So I'm really excited. I'm excited. I don't know. At first I didn't have any hopes that, here she is. I didn't have any hopes that we would be able to make friends with her. And just was kind of like, okay, well, hopefully she'll have a heifer and we'll keep her baby. We'll bottle feed it. We'll keep it and get rid of her. But I'm actually starting to have hope that she's going to work out. And I hope so, because I really want to get attached to my cows. I do. Yeah. I'm proud of you. So, anyways, we'll come back for more. This is just, day 1 for you, but day 3 for us? Yeah, I think so. You're a good girl. You're a good girl. Yes, you are. You're being so good. Yes, good girl. Oh my goodness. Look at that. Good girl. Said, oh, I don't want any more. Don't be sassy with me. Good girl. You're right. And that was it. Okay. All right. So, all right. Well, we'll catch you on another day.
Good. So I'm going to wrap up at this point. We've been doing this for almost a week, and she's just doing really well. So I'm going to continue to do this and work with her during the day. I do bring her up. At this point, what I've done is I actually let her go down in the field with my other cow. So she's down there during the day. But I bring her up with my milk cow every morning and every evening. And what I will do is put the goats in another area, in a little paddock area, to get them out of the way. Because my milk cow, Annabelle, has asserted her dominance, I will milk her first, and then I'll put her in the paddock area with my goats when I'm done with her to get her out of the way. And then I leave the gate up and I bring Lilibelle in so that she doesn't have to be pushed around, or so that my cow doesn't try to shove in ahead of her, because my cow will stay in here and eat grain all day if she could. So I need all of that out of the way. So they're out. Lilibelle has the time to be able to come in. I've been doing exactly what you just saw me doing. I'm now brushing her lower legs, and I am playing with her bag and her teats. I am pulling on them, on her teats, just a little bit. I'm not staying there a whole lot, just because I don't need to, and because she is starting to get milk. And the other day I squeezed a little bit on one of her teats and a little milk came out. I don't want that to happen. I want it to build up, and eventually she'll build up colostrum. I don't want to squeeze any of that out because the calf is going to need it. So, but I am playing with her, and I get a little aggressive with her under there so that she gets used to that. Not that that's what you do when you're milking. However, I want her to be totally okay with whatever we do with her bag. Like if she gets mastitis, sometimes you need to be rough with that bag, and you need to squeeze it and break up whatever chunks may be in the bag and things like that. So, but I am messing and brushing with her back legs in case we do need to hobble her. I need to be able to touch her back legs. And I don't want her freaking out if we are milking and something happens to touch her hind legs or something. I don't want her to freak out and not be used to that and kick at us. So I'm just doing all of this stuff. I'm going to continue to do that, continue to keep her on the morning and nightly routine. And so she obviously is learning to stand right now. So, because I'll let her stand in a stanchion while I go do some chores. So I don't leave her in here for real long. I've said it before, I don't want this to be a negative experience for her. So she comes pretty easily now. I think the fact that she has been worked with when she was younger helps, that I can brush her and things like that. If she were totally wild, it would be a little more cautious deal, you know, where they would kick at you possibly. So, you know, if you are dealing with a real wild cow, obviously you're gonna have to be more careful. With that, like I've said, I'm gonna wrap it up and we're gonna get going. Make sure to like and subscribe. We really appreciate every single one of those subscriptions. We appreciate every single one of those likes. Feel free to leave comments in the comment section, and we will see you next time. Have an absolutely wonderful day.